Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a basic Mokume Gane. So Mokume Gane was first used by Japanese metal artists. They used it to create these really interesting wood grain patterns in their metal, and that's where their idea came first, and polymer clays just decided to use the idea and apply it to polymer clay. So that's basically where the idea comes from. And so I'm going to show you how to do it with polymer clay. Of course I'm going to show you how to do it with polymer clay. I could not possibly show you how to do it with metal. So I'm going to be working with Primo today. I have Primo Black, Primo Cadmium Red and Cadmium Yellow. So my first recommendation for when you're doing polymer clay is to have at least a black or a white or both in your Mokume Gane. I found that it grounds your piece, and if you were to just use, let's say, red, yellow and maybe a green in there, bad colour choice, but anyway, that's besides the point. If you were to use those, you wouldn't have a lot of contrast. Your piece would look very pastel and the pattern wouldn't pop very much. So I found that if you want a really nice strong colour in your piece, you should use black or white, or in some cases both. So you can see here that the black really helps outline all of the imprints that are in the Mokume Gane. So I just recommend having at least a black or a white. Now I'm going to layer these. I'm going to do red on top of black and yellow on top of red. Now, to get these pieces the same size, I just used a square cutter because it's quick and easy, and it's good to try and keep your pieces the same size because it prevents less waste later on. Well, it prevents waste later on. So there we are. So basically we've got a sandwich now. And I'm going to take it to my pasta machine and run it through on the thickest setting. So that we've thinned it out. And you can see we need to cut these edges off to keep our edges nice and flush. Now you don't have to do this. Mokume Gane does not really rely on this, but I like doing it because the pattern is more predictable later on then. But you can always keep those because it really doesn't matter. The striped pattern that you're going to get later on isn't really going to be affected. If you're going to use a stamp and you want to get a certain image, you're going to want to keep it nice and neat. Now I'm just going to layer that. Now you can see that I've got the yellow and then the black on top of the yellow. You do not want to flip it and have yellow on top of yellow, because then in your pattern you're going to have a repeat yellow. So you always want to have it so that you're not repeating colours. So there we are. I'm going to run this through the pasta machine again on the thickest setting, so that we're thinning out the colours again. So that's what we've got so far. And don't worry, all of these bits and pieces that I'm chopping off will get used later on in my leftover projects. So I'm going to stack it one more time and run it through one last time. Now, depending on how thin your stripes go, that's going to so the thinner your stripes, the more oh, I'm having trouble explaining this. The more stripes you have, the more intricate your pattern is going to be. The wider your stripes are, so the less stripes you have, the less intricate your pattern is. So here on this side I sliced shallow, but basically if you were to leave your stripes like this, you're going to get this pattern. and if you run it through thin again, you're going to get a more intricate pattern. So I'll show you later on, it will make sense later. So what I'm going to do actually is, so I can show you, I'm not going to layer this like this, I'm going to keep this aside and show you what it looks like, and this one will repeat. Whoops. Didn't quite cut that right. But the great thing about the clay is that you can just stretch it out so that it meets your needs. There we are. I'm going to run that third party machine, stick a setting again. There we are. Now I'm going to cut this into 4. I'm just going to stack them. There we are, so you can see we've got a lot of stripes there. So I'll leave that one aside. And this one, if you'll remember, will have less stripes now. So I'm going to cut this one into 4 and stack this one. And then you'll be able to see the difference between lots of stripes and less stripes. So yeah, if I compare them, you can see this one has a lot more stripes. So I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit so that we can pop our pattern in. There we go. And we'll do this one first. Now, if you looked back at this one, you can see this one has the stacked colours. I haven't put anything on this side. It's the same piece of clay. There's nothing different. But you can see on this side, the colours look different from on this side. And that is because of which way I sliced it. So this side, it had a stacking of black, turquoise and white. So here you can see it, the blue is darker, and that's because it's on top of the black, and so the blue will appear darker. This side, because I've reversed it, the blue is on top of the white, and that's why it looks lighter. So you've got to take that into account when you choose which side you want to slice from, because it will affect your colours. So on this one, I'm going to slice from this side so that the yellow is on top of the red and the red is on top of the black, so the red will look nice and dark, but the yellow won't be affected because I find that it will probably look quite green. Now comes the fun bit. You can take out your crinkle blades. I've got 2 crinkle blades here. I've got a blade here that I took a cutter apart and made this weird crinkly thing. I have some wood carving tools and a ballpoint tool, and I have some hole piercers, and then I have some sculpting tools. So just go run around your house and see what interesting things you can find. Now, just a quick note, you can use things that from the kitchen like graters and things like that, but once you've used it with polymer clay, it cannot be used for it cannot be used with food again, because, well, you don't really want polymer clay and food getting mixed up together. So if you're going to use it with polymer clay, you can't use it for food again. Okay, so here's a bunch of things that I got. Now, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to bend it slightly. And I'm going to come across like this, and you want to penetrate right through the stack. And then come back this way. And I'm just going to do that. It doesn't matter what pattern you make, this is where it can be fun. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm just going to go over here, make a bigger wiggle pattern. I'm going to put those aside. I'm not going to use that one today. Now I'm going to take these ones. Now I'm going to use this end to penetrate the block, because if I were to use this end, if you see, it will be uneven. So the top will be, when you put it in, the top part of the hole that you make will be wider than the bottom part, so your pattern won't be the same. So it's better to use a tool that's even the entire way. So I'm just going to pop those in. Oops. There we go. I'm going to take this one. And really, it's about squishing the layers so that you get interesting patterns. And this is why I wanted to keep those layers, well, that's why I cut off all this excess, because the neater you keep it, the better this pattern will come out. So if you don't mind what pattern you get and you just want that interesting wood grain look, then I suggest just keeping all of this excess and seeing how it comes out, but it's very unpredictable when you do it like that. Oops. Okay, now I'm going to take these, see what I can make with those. There we are. So just mess with it and make a pattern. It's not, this Mokume Gane is probably one of the least rigid techniques you can get in polymer clay. There's really no musts in it. So just have fun. This is a really great beginner technique if you're new to polymer clay, because it's just something you can have fun at. It's one of my favourite techniques, and the problem is it's quite addictive, and so you end up with all of this Mokume Gane and you haven't even learned how to make a bead properly yet. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this back where I found it. And I'm going to just bunch this together, and it's good to keep your blade, and because it's been pretty much pushed onto the tile, you can use your blade to move this back into place and to squish out all of those holes. You can keep in those holes, it's not, you don't have to squish them out. I mean, that would achieve another really interesting effect, but I'd like to take the holes out, so I just use my fingers and press against it, flip it, press against it, and so on, just to get all of those holes out. There we go. Now just flatten it onto the tile because you want it really stuck on well to your tile while you slice. There we are. Now I'm going to be using my firm blade, and it's been cleaned, so you want your blade to be nice and clean and sharp for this. The reason I'm not using a flexible blade is because sometimes it can tend to dip, and I don't really want it to do that. So there you are. You can see what the pattern looks like over here, and this piece that I have, I'm going to reverse it, so that's a reversed look of the pattern here, and you can just see how different it is. This one was where the yellow is on top of the black, and so you can see the yellow has a more green tint to it, and the red is a lot more prominent. This one, the red's on top of the black, and so it's more neutral. So really, depending on which way you cut the stack, it's going to really differ the look of your pattern. So that's one with the stripes not really that wide or big. Now I'm going to bring this one over where we have a lot more stripes than the other one, and you'll see how different it looks. So I'm going to just stamp the same pattern into this one, and I'll come back when we can slice it. Okay, so I have got this ready. This is the other one with lots of stripes, and I've basically got the same pattern, and I've reduced it the same way, and I've done everything as close to this one as possible. So now you'll be able to see the difference. Oops, not stuck to the tile. See, if your thing's not stuck to the tile properly, it's going to be very hard to slice it. So make sure that it's nicely stuck to your tile before you begin. There we are. So here's the comparison. That one and that one. So you can see this one just has a lot more lines in it and it's a lot more detailed, and it's just a lot more interesting. Now this works for certain things and the ones with less lines work for other things. So depending on what you want, it's just good to know that you're going to get different effects by having more lines and different effects by having less lines, and depending on which way you slice it, you're going to have different color variations, and it's just basics that are good to know before you start doing more complicated Mokume Gane techniques. So this was a basic Mokume Gane, and I'll be showing more videos on this fascinating technique in the future, where I'll be using stamps and you'll be getting complete images in the clay. So I'll be using stamps like these, and you'll be able to see the leaf patterns, and I'll be using metal leaf and all sorts of things. So do look out for those videos, as I'm sure you'll find them interesting. And do have a look in the description below, as I'll have links to other videos like this one over there. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.